a leader, born in a time of change. In the early 16th century, the islands of the Philippines were a collection of independent barangays, each ruled by their own chieftains. Among these leaders was a warrior whose name would be forever etched in history: Lapu-Lapu, the chieftain of Mactan. A fearless leader and a skilled fighter, Lapu-Lapu rose to prominence at a time when foreign forces were seeking to impose their influence on the archipelago. His story is one of resistance, courage, and the enduring spirit of independence. Lapu-Lapu was not just a warrior, he was also a strategist and a respected leader among his people. The island of Mactan, under his rule, flourished through trade and alliances with neighboring communities. He understood the value of unity and military preparedness, which would later prove essential in the face of colonial aggression. His defiance of foreign domination was not born out of mere stubbornness, but a deep understanding of the consequences of submission. Ferdinand Magellan's arrival. In March 1521, the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan, sailing under the Spanish flag, arrived in the Philippines. His goal was to claim the islands for Spain and spread Christianity among the indigenous peoples. He first made contact with Raja Humabon, the ruler of Cebu, who welcomed him and converted to Christianity along with his people. However, not all chieftains were willing to submit to the Spanish. Lapu-Lapu, the ruler of Mactan, refused to acknowledge Spanish authority. He saw Magellan and his men as invaders rather than allies. While other chiefs submitted to Spain's rule, Lapu-Lapu stood firm, determined to defend his people's sovereignty. This defiance set the stage for one of the most legendary battles in Philippine history. Magellan underestimated the determination of Lapu-Lapu and his warriors. The Spanish sought to use a divide and conquer strategy, pitting native chieftains against one another. However, Lapu-Lapu's knowledge of his homeland and his warriors' capabilities gave him an advantage. He rejected offers of peace that required submission, knowing that true sovereignty could not be negotiated with a foreign power. The Battle of Mactan. On April 27, 1521, Magellan led a force of approximately 60 Spanish soldiers, armed with steel armor, swords, and muskets, to the shores of Mactan. Confident in their superior weaponry, they expected an easy victory over the native warriors. However, Lapu-Lapu and his men were prepared. Thousands of warriors awaited Magellan and his troops. Armed with bamboo spears, campilan swords, and shields, the warriors of Mactan fought fiercely against the Spanish invaders. Though the Europeans had superior weaponry, their heavy armor made movement difficult on the shallow shores, and they were overwhelmed by the speed and agility of the native fighters. The battle was brutal and chaotic. Magellan, hoping to demonstrate Spanish superiority, led the charge himself. However, the terrain worked against him. The shallow waters and coral reefs made it difficult for the Spanish to advance quickly, while the native warriors moved with ease. Magellan was struck multiple times by spears and swords. Eventually, he fell to the ground and was killed by Lapu-Lapu and his warriors. The Spanish forces, demoralized and leaderless, retreated back to their ships. The victory at Mactan was a defining moment. It was the first recorded resistance against foreign colonization in the Philippines. The aftermath and Spanish retaliation. Following the Battle of Mactan, the Spanish, now without their leader, struggled to maintain their presence in the region. They attempted to reassert control, but without Magellan's leadership, their efforts were largely ineffective. Eventually, they abandoned their initial colonization attempt and returned to Spain, reporting their defeat at the hands of Lapu-Lapu and his warriors. Despite this victory, Spanish forces would return decades later with greater numbers and more strategic planning. The Philippines eventually fell under Spanish rule, beginning more than 3 centuries of colonization. However, the defiance of Lapu-Lapu and the people of Mactan left a lasting legacy, proving that indigenous resistance was possible. The legacy of Lapu-Lapu. Lapu-Lapu's triumph over Magellan turned him into a symbol of Filipino resistance. Though much of his life after the battle remains a mystery, his legacy lived on through oral traditions and historical records. He was honored as the first native hero to resist Western colonial rule, and his bravery inspired future generations of Filipinos who fought for freedom. Over the centuries, Lapu-Lapu became a national icon. His name and deeds were passed down through generations, inspiring Filipino revolutionaries who fought against Spanish, American, and Japanese occupations. He was not merely a warrior. He embodied the ideals of freedom and sovereignty, principles that Filipinos continue to cherish today. Honoring Lapu-Lapu. Today, Lapu-Lapu is a national hero in the Philippines. Monuments stand in his honor, including the famous Lapu-Lapu Shrine in Mactan. His image is also featured on the official seal of the Philippine National Police, representing bravery and patriotism. Every April 27th, the country commemorates the Battle of Mactan as a tribute to his unwavering spirit. Modern Filipinos celebrate Lapu-Lapu's story through cultural events, reenactments, and even in popular media. His character appears in films, books, and television, further solidifying his place in Philippine history. The story of Lapu-Lapu is not just about one battle. It is a reminder of the strength and resilience of the Filipino people. A symbol of freedom, Lapu-Lapu's story is more than just a tale of war. It is a testament to the power of resistance and the importance of defending one's homeland. While the Spanish eventually colonized the Philippines decades after the Battle of Mactan, Lapu-Lapu's defiance remained an inspiration for countless struggles for independence. His name is forever remembered as a warrior who stood against oppression, making him a timeless hero of the Filipino people. The legacy of Lapu-Lapu extends beyond history books. His courage serves as a reminder that true leaders defend their people not for power, but for freedom. He remains a national symbol of defiance, resilience, and the unwavering spirit of a people who refuse to be conquered. Even today, his story echoes in the hearts of Filipinos who continue to fight for justice and sovereignty in their own ways.